All right, it is Tuesday, April 28th. I am here with mother-to-be, Alyssa Farah Griffin.
Why am I cursed with outbursts about my pregnancy on this show?
You think you'd be through it, but no. So this is yet again social faux pas about your pregnancy on The View. So for people who didn't see the show today,
so
explain what happened.
we had Brenda Song on, who absolutely love from many
delightful.
things. She's delightful. Running Point is great, but I love her from Disney Channel, just to be honest. But she's a mom of a 5-year-old, and I want to say like a 3-year-old or something. And Joy's like, well, do you have any advice for mother-to-be Alyssa? And I'm like, Joy, I had the baby almost 3 months ago. Like this, there's a whole human that's alive and in my life.
We had like 8 weeks of co-hosts.
We had,
I mean.
So good. She also told me before I walked out, she's like, interesting dress. Are you going to a bar mitzvah? And I was like, I'll take it. I love this dress.
Yeah, I like it too, very much.
And it hides the baby very well.
Being roasted by Joy is
an honor.
Intentionally or unintentionally is an honor for sure.
But her argument, well, we have a few pregnant women on staff, but she says until she sees the baby in person and like holds him, she's not going to believe that baby Justin is real.
Nobody loves a baby more than Joy Behar.
Which is kind of surprising in a weird way, but she does.
She loves them. She loves how cute they are.
Yeah.
She wants to inhale them. She's very...
So, and then I'm weirdly the opposite. Until I had my own baby, I kind of thought they all looked like little old men. Mm-hmm. Now I see mine and I joke to Justin, I'm like, if the baby's missing, it's because I literally just inhaled him. Like, baby Justin got inhaled. Like, he's missing now.
I don't think I ever held a baby till I had my own, really. Like, it was not something I
my husband, I don't believe, changed a diaper until and now he's like the diaper king of Westchester County.
I was pretty good with the diaper.
Yeah. But men take a lot of pride in it, I think. Like how quickly they can do it. And
Yeah. The swaddling I wasn't great at.
But you grow out of it quick.
Yeah.
Burping also Justin's shockingly good at. That's like he really gets
the real
into
skill.
It. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We had an amazing show today. We also, speaking of icons, LeVar Burton was here.
Unbelievable.
Is there anyone more like compelling or charming or, I
hope audio didn't catch me singing along to the Reading Rainbow song when we played it, but
Butterfly in the
he
sky.
was my childhood.
Mine too.
Just unbelievable.
And I'm a huge Star Trek fan too, so it really continued into my adulthood for a long way. And anytime I see him and Whoopi together, I just love that so much.
Totally. And it's cool to see how much the audience, like how excited they were, because we had a really young audience today, it shows how he just spans generations.
Yeah, you could be any age and he can mean something to you.
Yeah.
I mean, from Roots to Reading Rainbow. All right, well, let's dive in because I haven't gotten a chance to talk to you about this White House Correspondents Dinner. I want to give you credit for you were the first host to check in on me, which I appreciate. And you were also very quick on the show to thank law enforcement and the Secret Service for keeping everyone safe. But as somebody who worked in the administration, has been around many motorcades and presidential events, do you think this could have been prevented?
So, by the way, I'm so glad that you're okay. It was scary because I had just put the baby down and we were, Justin and I were actually going to bed. It was like 8:30, I want to say, or whatever. And got a text saying like, hey, something's happening at the Correspondents' Dinner. So I put on the TV and immediately texted you. Thank God it wasn't worse than it was. So I think two things can be true at once, that Secret Service and law enforcement absolutely did their job. They apprehended him early before he was able to get close to the event. And there are still massive security failures and vulnerabilities. And having attended this event as a government official, but also as a member of the media, it's not the most secure environment. So yes, you have to have a ticket that you kind of flash and they check to get into the building. But I saw journalists that I love posting pictures of their tickets all over Instagram. Sure. So it's like it would be very easy for somebody to have seen one from a previous year or even this event, make their own. And then there really are just the metal detectors as you go into the actual ballroom. So you can have pretty free range of the building before then. And I've always thought this because I think of the Reagan shooting, which took place at the very same Hilton, that a way to get around the security or needing a ticket is you book a room at the Hilton, because you'll always see people who intentionally do so they can see like the stars and the government officials.
Or so you don't have to deal with the difficult commute to these things.
I mean, that
because
too.
It's also really hard to get in.
Exactly. So that always stood out to me. And actually even a couple years ago, I dropped my ticket at some point during the event and they were kind enough to give me another one. But all of those things stood out to me of like, we might need to consider a next level of presidential and cabinet level security at events like this. But on the flip side, as I mentioned on the show, using this to justify the ballroom is absurd. On its face, it falls apart. I would ask any serious person to look me in the eye and say that will eliminate the threat risk against the president. It just simply won't, unless he's going to hunker down and just not leave the however many acres the White House is. That would mean that all future, rather than going to campaign events all over the country ahead of the midterms, he'd have to do it at the White House. Rather than going to the G7, he'd do it at the White House.
Or even like the Kennedy Center, which they're rebuilding right now. The president often goes to the Kennedy Center. He often does.
He likes to go golfing. Like, this is just, it's not, to say that that's the answer to security threats is just a ridiculous reason. If you want to make the argument, which I said on air, that we just need a bigger room to host state dinners and he would like it, then say that with your full chest, but don't make it about the security risks.
We talked about this a little bit, but there was a real right-wing kind of social media blitz that happened very quick.
Bizarre.
Minutes after this happened, before the president even referenced the ballroom, or right afterwards. Right-wing influencers in unison started posting tweets and I guess truths and other things pushing Trump's ballroom. Now, you and I have spoken a lot about this, and you've told me a little bit about how this all works on the right. I think there's versions of this on the left too, but the right's just better at it.
Yeah, the right is in this era so much better at the social media sort of rapid response to things. And what it is allies of the presidents have text message chains and they have email chains, and they blast out their orders to, I'm not talking hundreds, I'm talking thousands of influencers to say, hey, this is the line of messaging, and people respond to it. And because now you have a system of social media that's monetized, that's an added incentive. So you see a lot of these influencers who make all their money basically on X posting things that are in line, like pro-administration, that are going to get amplified heavily for saying, what the public line is. And it was really remarkable because I was like, that's the response. It's not, and people were wishing him well and grateful and talking about security failures, but it was so wild to just see how quickly everyone on the right was like, well, and now we need a ballroom. That is clearly the logical answer of
Which
this.
has probably contributed to this idea that is everywhere on social media that this was staged, which you and I don't believe.
Right.
But even in the comments for the show yesterday, I was saying, like, how do you guys believe it's real? It's really, and it's not just on the left, it's on the right too.
100%.
It's fascinating to me.
I do think that was a part of it. And then you add in just like perfect storm things of like Caroline Leavitt saying, shots will be fired. She's clearly talking about the president is going to have jokes. He's going to take, jabs at different people there. But for a super online audience of people in this country, that is just like catnip for them to believe in conspiracies. And to folks who are believing that and playing into like this was staged, whatever, I would just remind them of a few facts. We do have more guns than people in this country. We have an epidemic of mental health crises in this country where people are truly struggling and not getting treatment they need. And then add to that, we have social media. Sarah spoke about this on the show day. Social media algorithms that are meant to make us radicalize, meant to make us hate one another. You put all those things together, and honestly, thank God we're having as few of these events as possible. It is a perfect mix of a dangerous environment that's like a powder keg that these things are likely to happen. So when it feels like this just seems unbelievable that it could, unfortunately, when you consider all those factors, it's really not unbelievable at all.
When you were talking about how important it is not to be posting tickets and credentials and things like that, it reminded me of a story from a much simpler time. When I was a production assistant, I used my standing as a production assistant to get a press pass to the MTV Movie Awards or Music Awards at Lincoln Center. And this is like 1998, 1999. And I got there and I was on the red carpet and I had the same badge everyone else had. But then I saw that the people who got real access were with the stars. And this was like, it was
this is peak VMAs.
This was like Justin Timberlake, NSYNC and Britney performing together. Snoop and Dre were there. Madonna was there. It was amazing. And all I wanted to do
was the hottest ticket at that
was
time.
Go backstage. And I saw all the people that were going backstage had the exact same credential I had, but it had an orange dot on it. And I looked to the left and I saw Lincoln Stationery and I'm like, okay. And I walked over to Lincoln Stationery. I bought a ream of orange dots. I put one on and I'm hanging out with Madonna backstage.
Incredible.
It was unbelievable.
Incredible. But honestly, some of these things, the security, it's that simple. It's not how it should be.
It needs to be more complex than that. And you have to be able to outsmart an idiot production assistant.
Exactly.
All right. So going back to the important stuff here. So Trump has now said that he wants the Correspondents' Dinner to still happen again in the next few weeks. Is that a good idea? And why do you think he wants to do it? And will his tone change? I mean, the expectation was he was going to spend an hour plus roasting
the press
in a pretty severe way.
Yeah. So I think he wants it to happen because I think he probably likes the remarks.
I think so too. I think he's probably proud of his jokes.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely it. It's unclear from the White House Correspondents Association how quickly they'll try to do it again, if they will.
And where would it be? Is it going to be at the Hilton
that's the thing.
again?
I would think you would want a venue change, and that's kind of hard to pull together. So not sure what I think will happen there, but I think this whole conversation around tone and rhetoric it's one that I find deeply frustrating. When I think of the lack of presidential leadership when it comes to taking the temperature down, I think of moments like when Rob Reiner was murdered and his wife, and his reaction to that. That is a reaction to somebody who lost their life. That is a bridge further than I think you could say any other elected official in this country has gone.
Lost his life in a tragedy.
In a really tragic,
in a violent tragedy.
Horrible way.
Yes.
Untimely way. Other elected leaders are not talking like that. Now, that doesn't mean that I approve of or like the other rhetoric. I don't think we should throw around terms like warfare left and right, especially when we're in an actual war. But I think it pales in comparison to the rhetoric that we've gotten out of the White House. And I don't think his tone is going to change. I brought it up, but like after the terrible first assassination attempt, I was previewing his remarks at the Republican convention, and I said, he may take a more subdued tone. That wouldn't surprise me. I literally said, I don't think he's going to bring up, Hannibal Lecter and some of the greatest hits. Literally brought up Hannibal Lecter and started attacking the press, and it made it into like a Jon Stewart montage of pundits getting it wrong. But if that close call, which was a much closer call, I would say, than this one was, didn't really change his rhetoric or those of people around him, it's not going to.
His immediate comments right after this at the Correspondents' Dinner were warm.
And that occasionally happens with him.
Yeah.
But I don't think that gives carte blanche to everyone else to not hold themselves to a higher standard.
Right.
I think of like, I want to be the change I want to see in the world. I'm not going to wait for a president that I don't personally support to be the change I want to see in the world. Like, it's just not going to happen. So I think that it's incumbent on every elected official, every person with a public platform to put into the world what they want to receive back from it.
Do you have any faith in the idea that we'll ever go back to that?
My husband and I debate this a lot because I think that history tends to be cyclical. I think we've had moments that were as divided as this. They looked different. I think of the 60s. I think of the Vietnam era. I think of McCarthyism, like periods that were really fraught in this country, incredibly divided.
I think it was Rachel Maddow we had on the podcast once, and she said, yeah, there was a civil war.
There was exactly.
This is not the worst it's ever been.
It's not the worst it's ever been. And then you often see massive course corrections afterwards. So in response to certain eras, then the country goes completely the opposite direction. In some ways, I would say that electing Donald Trump in many ways was a reaction to people, to Barack Obama's presidency. Right. But the difference is, and I think Sarah said this so well today, it's the digital era. Donald Trump is the first truly social media president. Obama was on it, like Twitter was the thing, Facebook was the thing. But this era where it is so ingrained in all of our lives and where the algorithm's getting smarter than the users and where AI is introduced in it, where foreign adversaries are, that's what we're not ready for. And it makes me a little skeptical that we're ever going to go back to a more civil environment. And I also think it's because people don't trust sources anymore. We don't trust, there's a lack of trust in media, in newsmakers, and elected officials as sort of the barometers of truth. And people are turning to liars, grifters on social media who, and many times have even bigger platforms than people who are out there reporting the actual facts and truth. So it just makes it a lot harder to move on from a divisive era when there's this tech factor in it that nobody's willing to take on.
It feels like in 2020, there was a feeling like, okay, it's going to be a return to normal.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't.
Right.
Even with Biden. And there were other issues, obviously, throughout those years. And Jan 6th and Trump really never went away and everything else. And then Biden's own issues. But
well, and even with Biden winning, I think that it took the crisis of a pandemic for Americans who support Trump to consider he's not a good leader in crisis. I think generally for people to take off their jerseys and be like, maybe this isn't the best answer, it sometimes requires more of a crisis like that. And I think I said this on the show yesterday, how we're becoming desensitized to so many headlines. I think that a lot of the really, really bad things that are happening in this country, people move on and forget about way too quickly. I mean, think about some of the worst stories like Renee Good, Alex Preddy. Those names are barely in the headlines anymore. The outrage and the vitriol and like the wanting to push back, that it feels like it's in the rear view mirror. Things don't live in the same way that they did, and people don't organize around it the same way that they did. And that's just, and I think tech plays a huge role in that. There's always something new.
All right, let's switch gears to something a little bit old, but something exciting for you. It's Bravo time. Let's do it here. The biggest story right now is Summer House. Even I understand Summer House at this point. And as we've talked about before, the drama is that Amanda is now dating West, who used to date her best friend Sierra. They taped the reunion last week, and the audio from it leaked, which is a big problem in television. Yeah. It's turned into a huge scandal, and Bravo has launched an investigation, and they may have gotten to the bottom of it. Tell us what's happening here.
This is unbelievable. It became like such an internet meme because Andy Cohen tweets out, "Good morning." And then like an hour later is like, "Never mind." Like just such a hot mess to try to reel in these audio leaks. And there've now been 3. Bravo's actually been really good about getting them taken down.
I'm very impressed. Yes.
Yeah, it's like remarkable. Those lawyers are working around the clock. But I mean, every diehard Bravo fan, myself included, was listening for any clues and who know TV of where it may be coming from. Because the belief at one point was it was a cast member who might be recording on their phone. That never sounded right to me, just based on like the audio of all the voices are about the same volume, and if one person
the distance
had it
from everybody,
you would know it. They're now saying that it was somebody on the production team. They're not telling us who, but the new internet like rumor is that it was Jennifer Lawrence, Bravo's super fan, who may have cracked the case of who it was. Now I have no idea if this is actually true, but I love the idea that J-Law's just out there trying to get to the bottom of this for like Bravo and Summer House fans and for Andy. So I'm hoping that is the case because it's just perfect. Like, what can't she do?
I absolutely love Jennifer Lawrence.
I love her.
So I produced her on the Letterman show before she was, Katniss Everdeen, when she was like on the way up, and she was just the coolest, most down to earth person. I loved. The day I had her on for Winter's Bone, that movie she was nominated for an Academy Award for.
Excellent.
Very dark, very excellent, and we had such a great time chatting. And she had just been named to be Katniss in the Hunger Games, and I loved the book. Yeah. And I brought the book out, and I said, do you mind signing this for me? I'm like, I'm so excited about this. And she's like, that's so sweet. And I said, no, I'm telling you, I'm going to be there on preview nights. Yes. I'm that excited about it. And she put her arm around me and said, well, that's kind of sad.
Doesn't she seem super normal? Yeah,
normal. But
she's a dream guest because we haven't had her on since I've been here.
No, and I produced all of her appearances on Letterman, and she was always one of my top favorite people. So
that would be me with any Game of Thrones cast members, is just not even maintaining a level of cool, just absolutely. I did it when Kit Harington.
Yeah, I have no chill, so it's fine.
Zero chill. Don't even try. Yeah. Also, you're Gen X, but millennials, we're okay being cringe. We've just embraced it. It's I'm not gonna pretend that I have chill. I don't have it.
Yeah. Well, I was embracing the cringe before you were born.
Yes, exactly.
All right. On that, well, certainly before your child was born. Thank you for joining me today, Alyssa. Course. Tomorrow, I'll be back with Sarah Haynes. We got a new live show on The View. Check it out. Also, while I got you guys, check out The Weekend View. If you haven't seen it, it's on YouTube from last week, and you can catch it on ABC News Live this week. And it's worth. Do you like The Weekend View?
I love
right?
The Weekend View.
How much fun is it?
The Weekend View. It's so fun.
Talk about cringe. By the time we tape it, you are all so
slap happy.
It's exactly
and
what
we
it
forget
is.
we're on TV is
the
problem.
Yes,
yeah.
It's a lot, but it's fantastic, the end result. All right, so thanks, guys. We'll see you then.